If we open our eyes, we can help change the story. Please stand for the reading of God's word. I love to connect dots, and sometimes you read a passage and a light bulb goes on, and you start tying things together. So this is a story, shows up in all 3 Gospels. Something shows up 3 times. I figure it's pretty important. As soon as I start reading it, you're going to recognize it. Leaving the crowd behind, they, the disciples, took him, Jesus, along just as he was in the boat. There was also other boats with him. A furious squall came up, and the waves broke over the boat so that it was nearly swamped. Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. The disciples woke him and said to him, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, "Be quiet, be still." And the wind died down, and it was completely calm. So if we scroll back a few years to the Psalms. You answer us with awesome deeds of righteousness, O God, our Savior, the hope of all the ends of the earth and of the furthest seas, who formed the mountains by your sweep, having armed yourself with strength, who stilled the roaring of the seas, the roaring of their waves, and the turmoil of all nations. God is our refuge and our strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear. Though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, and the mountains shake with their surging. Jesus asked, "Why do you doubt? Where is your faith?" How great is our God.
All the earth rejoice, all the
When you know something good, do you hoard it or do you share it? If it's good news, don't you want to share? Don't you want to tell somebody something good has happened? In the video this morning, we were reminded everyone has a story, and some of them aren't pleasant, but everyone has the opportunity to flip that script. Our God is great. Amen. Tell somebody. It's that simple. Tell somebody. Pass on what you know to be true. As we prepare for the message today, I was thinking about camp. I'm not, a big camper myself, but I do know one of the popular things they like to do is action songs. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to jump around and do some of the things but I will ask you to do some action. So please stand. You'll think better on your feet. And the chorus of this song is, I will follow you where you want me to. It's a song of dedication. I think it follows really well behind a prayer time. But we're going to sign, with sign language, the verse. So I just want to go over with you the actions, and then you can follow us as we all sing about following God. Okay? So first sign, I. Touch your chest. That's easy, right? I. Second sign, will. Your palm from your cheekbone forward. I will. It's like your mind. I'm going to do this. You is a pointer finger, and we're going to point upwards because we're talking about God, right? Where is just pointer finger, little, yeah. It's like, usually it's like, where are we going? But it also fits for where as in location. And want. Those are all the ones you need to know. Okay, so I will, I forgot the biggest one. Okay, follow. Make two fists with your thumbs up. Now, put them in front of you with your dominant one closest to you. okay? And then push forward. So this is you following, right? I will follow. That's follow. So follow. And then it'll be you. Okay? So that's the chorus. We're going to sing 2 verses first. You're going to forget it by the time we get there, but you can watch us. Okay.
Good morning. So I am one of the weirdest people when it comes to speaking. So like I do it a lot now, but I like to stay true to who I am. So first off, shout out. It is great to see you, Mitch. I was happy to hear your name, and I'm so happy to hear that you guys are having another baby. And I met Mitch at camp, so it's great to be talking about camp and to run into people from camp. Side notes that I wasn't planning to say, but I'm going to say it anyways. My church well, I was going to say that anyway, but my church is Little Bethel Community Church. It's in Hamilton. I'm also in the NHA with you guys, so I've gotten to meet Olive and Peter through the years, and it's been great. And it was funny because right before we started, I had a text message from my pastor saying, "Can you call me ASAP?" So I went back there and I'm like, "What's going on?" Because I am the tech. The whole tech team is me. This is the first time they've done the new system that I gave them without me being there. And they're like, the screen keeps blinking off and on, off and on. I'm like, I don't even know what to do about that because I've never had that happen. I was like, did you unplug it and plug it back in? They're like, we tried that. I'm like, good luck, and I guess God be with you guys. Sorry I'm not there that this happened. So yeah, that's a little bit of, you get a little bit of me in that because that's who I am. I get crazy, I just ramble. And I'll try not to ramble too much. So yeah, my name is Curtis. I am currently the chair of the committee, board, meeting, whatever, at Camp Oneida. I've been doing it for a couple years. I'm also the leader register, so if you register to be a leader, it's me you got to deal with. And sorry if I email you late, but I'll try my best to get on time on that. I also am the chair deacon at my church, Little Bethel. I've been doing that long time now, and I'm tired of doing it, but I'm still doing it. I just don't like the minutes. I hate writing minutes. I got to do that. So, but I enjoy my time at Little Bethel. So when I was asked to do this, I was really excited, but also kind of nervous. Not because I was nervous to speak to people, but I was like, oh, how do I talk about camp on a Sunday morning? At my church, I've done it twice. But when I did it, I just did one of my, it was crazy. I managed to do a week of Bible study that I did, and I crammed it all into one sermon. We usually didn't get through the whole thing, but that's what I did. And then I said, and yeah, go to camp. And that's kind of what I did. Because I think it's important when you come to Sunday that you're here to learn about God too, though. So I'm like, how do you, I mean, obviously as a Christian camp, you're still gonna learn about God, but like, I don't want to just promote camp. I want to talk about God. So I was really happy when I messaged Olive and said, what are the details, what do I need to do? And she suggested, she's like, well, one good thing to do is you can give a testimony, talk about yourself a bit. They let the people get to know you and talk about camp. And I was like, beautiful, because now I got some good stuff to talk about, hopefully. So I'm going to summarize my entire life for you guys, and I just, look at me. I already told them, give me the look when you're like, Curtis, we're done hearing about your life. Move on. Just let me know, okay? And I'll move on. But I'm going to share with you about my life because it actually intertwines beautifully with Camp Oneida. And you're going to get a good grip of Camp Oneida as well as who I am. And I hope it all makes sense. And I'm also, because of my church, Little Bethel, was raised in it. And how they always do is we're very give and go with each other. So I offer that up. If I say something and you want to be like, well, I want to talk about that a little more, you go ahead and put your hand up. And if I have the moment, I will veer to you and we can get distracted and go down a different path with that if that happens. We're trying not to do it too much. But if you feel called to have an opinion or ask me a question, put your hand up and I would love to share. Okay? So yeah, let's get going. A little about me. We're going to go way back. Well, some of you are going to laugh at me for even saying that. You're like, the 90s isn't that far back. Come on, Curtis. But we're going to go to the 90s. The year is 1991. And there were two really amazing good things that happened that year. Number one was the Terminator. He came back for John Connor, but he saved him this time. He was a good guy. Terminator 2 came out. And then also a very beautiful, handsome baby named Curtis was born in October. So two pretty good things, depending on if you like movies like I do or if you don't like movies. A little bit about my childhood. So I was raised, I have an older brother, and my older brother, he's 2 years older than me and very protective and can be scary at times. He's the complete opposite of me in some ways. I'm very kind and patient and loving. He's very, what did you say? He's a good guy, good soul, but he's very protective, especially over me. And a little story to tell you that he once, there's two stories, I didn't even think about it, there's two stories. When I was little, apparently I was crying in my crib, and apparently he came over, and we're only 2 years older, right? And he picked me out of the crib because I was crying to help me. And then my mom had to come in and go, no, we don't pick up the baby. Put the baby back in, thank you. So he's always been protective of me. And in middle school, I was getting bullied in gym class or whatever, and he found out about it. And he told his best friend, who was still at my school, he wasn't there anymore. He got kicked out, I think, but he wasn't there. But his best friend was there, and he was like, well, who's this guy? And instead of coming to me and like, Curtis, what's going on? He went to my best friend. He's like, where's this guy that's bugging Curtis? And he's like, it's that guy right there. And he goes up and he grabs this guy. And he's like, you, right? And this guy's face goes red. He's like, I didn't do anything. And I'm like, that's not the guy. So I run up like, wrong guy. But, my brother sent in his hitman, so a loving brother. But, and me and that guy, we actually became friends. It's pretty funny. We became pretty good friends after that. So a little bit about that. Then we go on to my dad. Now, my dad, on the other hand, was not very active. That's the truth. It's important to my story and who I am and what I do actually is because of this, I find. I always say that I think God works in mysterious ways. I think sometimes we wonder, why do bad things happen? I don't sit there and go, God was like, yes, I have a plan. I'm going to give you a really bad dad. And then I'm going to do this. And I don't think that's it. But what God does is in that, he teaches. He goes, look what you can gain from this and what you can do with this if you choose to. And I think it's really beautiful. And hopefully you can see that through my story of why I really love that. So yeah, he wasn't really around much, and he wasn't the best person to my mom, I didn't know. I was young, but apparently that was the issue. So when I was about 3 years old, my mom said, well, I've had enough. So she picked up me and my brother, and she left, and she moved to a little street called Paling in Hamilton, Ontario. And Paling Street happened to have a church on it called, at the time, Bethel Baptist, but now Little Bethel Community Church, which is the church I've been going to since I was 3 years old. Except for when we left for a little bit because a certain Jehovah's Witness came to our house, knocked on the door, and my mom went, okay, let's try it out. Didn't work too long when we went back to the church. So I've been at that church a long time, and this church has been instrumental in who I am as a person. Because like I said, my dad wasn't really around. Once we were out of the house, we saw him, if we were lucky, twice a year. And for him, he was lucky because my birthday is the 28th of October, my brother's is November 9th, and then Christmas is coming up around the corner. So really, he's set. I can kill all three at once, so he usually took advantage of that. But Halloween was great because he lived downtown. The one year we got bags of candy. My neighbor, who wasn't really for Halloween, was very upset that we did that, but we came back, we're like, look what we got. She's like, but, my mom, very nice lady, very loving lady, didn't really have a backbone, so we did what we kind of wanted a little bit. Yeah, buddy.
Can I ask why your neighbor wasn't a fan of Halloween?
I don't, back then, I think they're very, it's a conservative Christian. You couldn't watch Harry Potter, you couldn't watch Pokemon, and I did it once at their house. I did it once. I was in the living room and I was watching Pokemon, and she was in the other room, and she's like, what are you watching, Curtis? I'm like, nothing. Lovely people. They actually were a big part of my life, and they've actually helped me a lot. So I don't have any, and they changed. They actually love Harry Potter now, and I was like, look at that. People can change. I didn't know that. I'm like, I don't really care for it, but you love, that's great. So anyways, yeah. We had this childhood. It was really good, and we found this great church that was really accepting of us, of our, like I said, we weren't perfect, there was probably swearing in our house a lot, we watched movies we shouldn't watch, like Terminator 2, at a very young age. When we did visit our dad, he didn't care what we watched. Like, you want to watch the latest horror movie? Let's watch it. And we did. And then I screamed, and then he said, shut it off. And then my brother got really upset that we couldn't keep watching it. True story. As we go on to my church world, there's a couple of things that I really think where I didn't notice what God was doing, but it's really cool. When I was little, this lady came to our church, who's new to our church. She always tells a story. And she came into the church, and I guess the first thing I said to her was, I said, are you here to learn about Jesus? And that just melted her heart. She loved me, and she was like much older. And then she really so she sat behind me in the pool, I guess, and apparently she was playing with my fingers, and I was just happy that it was there. And then my mom, love my mom, very nice lady, but she just trusts everybody. First day of the church, she goes, can I take your son out? Can I go just take him around, go take him shopping and stuff? My mom goes, yes, of course. Take him. Good thing she was a nice lady, and she brought me back eventually. She brought me cowboy boots. It was great, and I loved wearing my cowboy boots. Her husband used to be a police officer, so he had an old cop hat, and he took the badge off. There's actually photos of me at Camp Oneida with my old cop hat on. I love that hat. I don't know what I did with it. Kids, we love things, and then we lose things, and then when we get older, we're like, why was I not more good at keeping things together and not losing things? Other things at church was that our church was very accepting, I think. And I remember like I said, like, and I know, like, we don't talk, we shouldn't swear. Swearing is not an okay thing to be just swearing when we want, especially in church. And I did it once. Well, okay, maybe more than once. I won't lie to you guys, but I did it once where I got caught. And I remember I was chasing one of my friends down the stairs, and as I go, I don't know what I said. I really don't. I was like, no, OS, or whatever, right? And as I'm coming around the corner, I say it, and then bam, pastor's wife, who's also, because they were a team, a pastoral team. It was Buff Cox. She's just sitting there, I'm like, ooh. And she looks at me, but kindness as QB, she goes, it's okay, it happens, it slips. I said, oh, thank you. Not that I was gonna take advantage of that and let it slip all the time, but I think it gave me a real good perspective though, that I think that's true for a lot of people. I think even when I think of kids at camp, kids I've worked with in youth groups, I don't work, I work with a lot of Christian kids, but I always tend to get these kids that are not Christian kids. They're community kids that come to these Christian programs. And when you got kids like that, you have to understand that their world is completely different at home and that you have a safe place. And you may have to buckle up on some certain things. And I've been a big sayer, and you may disagree completely with me. And Theo, don't go telling people I said that it's okay to swear, okay? Because it's not. It's not. But I have my beliefs on swearing as a big system. I don't think swearing's a problem. Hear me out. Swearing's not the problem. The intent behind why you're doing it is the problem. I've always said that. I don't think the words are the problem. I think it's why are you saying that? That is the problem. Because if I wanted to say I don't like you, and I want to say, you know what, I'm going to make a new word up, and it's flippity floop flop. And I came to you and said, you know what, you're being a real flippity floop flop. Now you're going to laugh at that. But if my intentions are just as bad as saying something else, that should be the problem. And I think even biblically, I think that's what God's like. That I don't like. I don't like the hatred. I don't like the anger. I don't like that. I don't think, so I'm very iffy on this. And obviously at camp, I'm always like, guys, cut it out, bring it down. I'll let like one or two go. And then after that, I'm like, hey guys, enough. You're going to get us all in trouble. If they, and I use the directors as my scapegoat. I say, if the directors hear you, then they're going to come in here. We're all going to get trouble. We're all going to get sent home. And then I'm going to have to get down on you guys. Do you want that, or you want to just be okay with it? Yeah, buddy.
I kind of agree with you. It's not the word itself, it's how it's used.
Yeah, right? Amen, buddy. So, yeah, so that's a little bit about some church things. Also, there was one more thing. Not everyone knows, but I love Hondas. Actually, I drive a Honda Passport. I jokingly said, people like, what's your dream car? And as a kid, I said, Hondas. And I said, because it's an achievable dream. They're affordable, and they're pretty reliable cars. It's achievable. Everyone's like, oh yeah, I want a Lamborghini. I'm like, good luck, right? Like, I'm getting a Honda. And I did. I got a CRV, and I got a Passport. I'm living life. But not everyone knows how I got into this. It was because of someone from church. There was this guy at the church that went to the church. And once again, I don't know why my mom just trusts people anyways. Why I kind of figured out later on why she trusts him. But anyways, he drove a Honda Civic, an old hatchback red car. And I thought he was the coolest guy, and his car was the coolest car. And he would, every once in a while, take me out. I'm like, this is the coolest life. And I remember they tried to give me a surprise birthday party for my church. They're like, oh, Matt's going to take him out, and then we'll all go to the house, and we're all surprise him. So Matt takes me out, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Then we roll down my street, and I'm like, that's the pastor's van. That's the worship team's van. That's that family's van. The whole church is here. I know they're here. So we get like surprise. I'm like, I knew you guys were here. I know all of your cars. Which is a little bit of a me. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's some ADHD thing or something. I always remember people's vehicles somehow, and I'm like, I know who's there today. But I did find out why he left the church. I was really, as a kid, I was hurt. I'm like, that was my best friend. You know why he left the church? My mom. My mom liked him. I found out years later, my mom liked him, and then her friend said, you got to go ask him out. She asked him out, and guess what? He never came back to the church after that. So I told my mom, like, Mom, you took away my best friend. You're gonna be if you ever meet my mom one day, you know, you can let her know that how you feel you're on my side, not her side, okay? Her love life doesn't mean anything. Anyways, as we go on, so life was good. I hope you kind of got to meet who I am through a little bit of that fun stuff. But also, our church really supported us, and we weren't financially in a good spot. My mom didn't have a car. We never grew up with a car. She did the best she could, always getting stuff on layaway for us to get good presents and stuff. She just did the best she could. But the church support of our family was huge and instrumental. And Camp Oneida, too. And that's why I love Camp Oneida. We couldn't afford to go to Camp Oneida. I jokingly said that we always talk at our meetings at camp that Camp Oneida it is true. We were one of the most affordable camps you can go to. We're still not affordable. We're affordable, but not to the people that could really benefit. We're just not. So it always worries me. I'm like, man, that's still the camp. We do a great job, and I didn't know this until I got on board that churches support campers who can't afford to come, and they just pay. They're like, as long as the family's communicating with them, they handle it. They always find a way to handle to make sure people come to camp. And I was a blessing of that. I don't know who paid for me. I don't know if it was my church. I don't know if it was somebody from camp. I have no idea. Sorry. But they figured it out. Not all is water. Curtis is water. Inside joke. No, I'm just kidding. But no, and the pastor would always drive me to camp because we didn't have a car. So they would drive me up to Camp Oneida. And the first year it was just my brother got to go, and then the second year I wanted to go, and they made time for both of us to go separate weeks. And Camp Oneida was probably the most life-changing thing for me. Not really, and you don't notice it as a kid. What you're striving for an adult people in your life. You don't have that at home. You don't have your, but you're striving for something, and you're getting it without even noticing you're getting it. And I got it a lot from what I'm grateful for is I know it was God in work. God provided Christian men in my life, throughout my life, and Christian females in my life to really steward me through my problems without even knowing. I didn't have to go to therapy or anybody else to get help with my dad not being around. I just had good people in my life the whole time. And at camp, there's a handful of people that I've never forgotten. Becky, one of the nurses there, she's in charge of so many things there. But for me, she was always my nurse at camp, and I always remembered her. I always remembered her bucket hat, and I remember her being there. And I left camp for years, and when I came back, I was shocked that she wasn't the nurse still. I had another nurse, it was Angela, and I'm like, no, Becky's the nurse. She nurses all the camps. That's how it works. I was confused. The other person is Mark Pooh Bear, as I would call him. And in my phone, he's listed as Pooh Bear. So when the emails get sent, it says, one to Pooh Bear. And I was like, you named him Pooh Bear in your phone? I'm like, yeah, he's Pooh Bear. But he really connected with me on a real special bond, I thought. And I really appreciate what he did for me as a camper. Now, did anybody here watch the show King of the Hill? I don't know if that was kind of a middle ground. It's a bit of an adult cartoon show. Well, apparently he watched it, and like I said, we didn't have a lot of rules at our home, so we watched it too. And I'm at camp, and Mark comes up to me. I remember one day, and I don't know why he did it, but he was doing an impersonation of Boomhauer, which is this character that mumbles and talks real fast. He'd come up to me and go, hey, man, how you doing, man? Come on, man, what you doing, man? What the hell, man? Come on, Bobby, man, come on, right over there, right? And I'm like, Boomhauer from the show! I'm like, this is great! And it was this funny thing and then I would try to do it, and I couldn't, because he's right there, and I'm like, I started laughing, I can't do it. And then at the end of the week, I'd go home, or the end of camp, I'd go home, and all year I would practice Boomhauer. And I'd come back to camp, and I'm like, Pooh Bear. I'm like, hey, Mark, or hey, Pooh Bear. I'm like, hey, man. I can't do it in front of you, But it was a really good bond. I mattered in some degree to him, and my leaders too. I remember a lot of leaders. Funny, I can't remember many of the kids' names, except for Jacoby, because I thought Jacoby was an interesting name. I never forgot that name. But everybody else, I don't remember. I don't keep contact with any of the campers, really. I know the leaders. I remember the leaders because they really impacted my life. I think I probably hung up with them more than anybody else. And I had a bit of a bedwetting issue back then too, I won't lie. But they kept that crap under wrap. But I appreciated that because I couldn't do many sleepovers at friends' houses, but at camp I could because they discreetly took care of it. And God said one day, Curtis, you're going to have to do that. And it's going to suck, but you're going to have to do the same thing. And boy, I did have to do that. That was a good year. So when I think about camp, like I get into my camp life, and camp was so good to me as a kid. And then the next thing I kind of run into is, and I'm happy to hear that, like I hear some baseball things. I saw your baseball thing. We've got a lot of baseball people here. It's baseball town. I coached baseball, and I got into it when I was young. I was in grade 8 when I first kind of helped. I was just an assistant coach. And that same year, I was getting ready to graduate, and I was at rehearsal. It was I called the worst day of my life. It sounds bad. It shouldn't be, but it was. Some kid had said some racial slurs to me as I was heading home, and I just couldn't get home. I was trying to get home, and these kids just kept, and they were little. So I was like, I can't beat them up. And it was the first time and the last time it really ever happened to me. And I remember I'm like, hey, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn the other way, and I'm going to go to the baseball park, because I knew the people that ran it, actually those Christians who didn't like Harry Potter, they ran the park for Kiwanis, the Boys and Girls Club. So I'm like, I'm going to go there, because I know they're there. And I get there, and they said, Curtis, they said, what are you doing here? You need to go home right now. So they packed me up, and they drove me all the way home. And it was very quiet around. I'm like, what's going on? I get home, I get inside. My brother's like, your dad died. So our dad died. Oh, and now I have more daddy issues, because I'm like, wow, like you weren't around, but now I'm mad that you're not here. And you question God, you question why is this happening? And the weird thing is that the year it happened, I can't really recall much. It kind of blurred through the year. Even the first year of high school kind of blurred through it. But I remember baseball. Coaching these kids gave me something to do. Focus. I wasn't so much into worrying, I guess, because I had in a sense, a job to do. There's this one kid, his name is Austin, and I coached him a long time. And his mom said years later, said, he was really shy, and he wanted to play baseball, but he didn't really want to play baseball. But he said, but you were the guy that got him out of that. You really, and me and this, we connected instantly. And it was the first time I had a kid that really, and I would use the word love. There was a love that, he cared about me. And even though I was a kid at the time, there was this connection. And I started to grow into who I am now, I believe. And I was slowly getting my gifts of just being good with kids. And I say that, some people are lucky they're chick magnets, right? And they get all the girls. I don't get all the girls, but the kids just keep, hey, Curtis, we love you. And I'm like, oh, no. A little too much. Come on, give me a break. But that's been my life. And the funny thing is, I don't even have to try, which is what I love. And I know that it tells me that God is doing something, because I don't have to try. But then when I do put in the effort, it's even better. And what's really cool is that, baseball, it really helped me out and really gave me the tools that I realized who I was with kids. I had kids on the spectrum on my team a couple of years, and I had to learn how to adapt to that and be a better coach for that. I yelled at some other coaches, because I'm like, you don't talk to my kids that way. I'm not going to have it. And just life was it was a really good time in my life for coaching, and it really took me away from all the other bad issues in my life. And then from there, after coaching, I got the opportunity to help out with my youth group at my church. The Remain family, who is also a Camp Oneida family, and there are people that actually drove me to camp. They actually, one year they came and said, Kurt, you want to go to camp on a Sunday morning? I'm like, yeah, go home, pack the stuff, we're going right now. And that was the last time I went to camp. It was a great experience. But this family, they go to my church, and they're like, do you want to help us run the youth group? And I was young. I was a teenager. I'm like, well, why not? I'll help do this. And I start to build my craft, learn from them. I was always myself, had fun. And then they left. And then it was, well, now the youth group's on you, Curtis. And the youth group started, actually, this specific group of kids started with one baseball kid that I knew who lived in the neighborhood. And their dad said, as long as Curtis is there, you can go to that church. And she brought her friend who lived down the street. They told their friends at school. We went from 2 to 5 to 10. 1 year, over 30 kids, which I had to cancel because it was a community thing and they were rough. And I remember that year, I said, guys, it was right before Christmas break. I said, we're not coming back in the fall or after the break is done. I said, we need to take a big break because what we're doing right now is not working because you guys are out of control, but also we're not doing our job. So I'm not going to place the blame on them. We're not doing our job. We're not prepared to help you right now. So we need to take a big break and we're going to come on back in the fall, which we did. So I did years of that. And we had a we had a kid at our youth group who was really the first time I really had a kid on the spectrum who needed support. And he came out. And I remember my leader saying, Curtis, this new guy's down there playing the games, and he had an accident. He's clearly wet himself. And I said, oh, okay, well, let's figure this out. So I get down there, and they're playing octopus. I go back and forth, tagging each other. And I get to the side, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's quite obvious. He was wearing gray pants, was not the good choice of pants to wear. So I'm like, okay, how do I deal with this? I'm like, let's go. I'll talk to him. We go upstairs, me, him, and another leader. And I said, okay, but it said, so it seems like your pants are kind of wet. He looks at me and goes, yeah, they are. He's like, well, you know how it's raining outside, right? I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, that's what happened. The rain got me. And I kid you not, I looked him dead in the face. I said, so the rain went directly there, like just there. And he's like, yep. I'm like, okay. So I shared with him a little bit. I said, you know what, buddy? I said, that's okay. I said, you know what? We're not going to debate this. I even told him, like, it's okay if you did. Cause I'm like, and I told him, like, I did when I was at camp all the time. Like, it's okay. I get it. I said, but you know what? I said, even if you didn't, it looks that way. So I don't want the other kids to be mean to you. So I said, how about this? Do you have anything else you can wear to cover up? He's like, no. I'm like, okay. I had a sweater. I'm like, okay, you wear my sweater, okay? Wear my sweater, and that will keep people from. I'm like, is that a good idea? He's like, okay. And then like the next week he came back, and he didn't even have to tell me he peed. He came to me and said, hey, Curtis, can I wear your sweater again? I was like, of course. So it became this thing. And this guy, he was a good kid, but he would get into fights with the other kids, and he'd have these extreme freakouts. And I remember my leadership team, they said, Curtis, he needs to go. Like, it's too much. It's not fair. And I said, not on my watch. It's not going to happen. I said, we need to be better then, and that's the case. I said, if other kids have a problem with him being here, they can leave. I'll take him because he wants to be here. Like, that's my stand. I said, we need to be better as leaders to make sure he has a successful week. If there's a failure in the thing, it's us, not on him. So this was a great life lesson for me leading into camp. Because at camp, I got to get more involved. I got on the board, and I got to start directing camps. And I remember I talked to Becky about this dream I had. I said, I want to run a family camp for families with needs that don't meet everybody, special needs. Maybe they got kids that have big anger management problems. I don't care what their issues are. If they can't go to camp for whatever reason, let's give them a place they can come to, and we'll just be accepted and understanding, and we will go through it. It's one of those things where I'm like, if a family's like, well, we can't go to camp because our kid swears all the time and you're a Christian camp. You know what? This is the week, bring him in. We will work it. We will work through it. You do your best. I'm not asking you to be perfect with your kids. Come do your best, and we'll support you as much as we can. And that camp's had some good success. And then I got to direct some camps. And my favorite thing was I got to meet Mitch at camp and Victoria, and I got to work. I already knew Sergio before that, but I got to meet him more at that week. That was a fun week. I got to do Bible studies at camp and really grow in my faith that way. But then things happened. Won't talk about them. But Sergio took a break. He's like, I'm done with camp right now. I'm like, okay. Could Curtis direct a teens camp? Let's do it. So I'm all in. I'm in. I'm a very patient person. Very, very patient person. But every once in a while, I like to lose my crap. Who doesn't, right? I find if you do it right, they respect you more because you don't do it all the time. If you yell all the time, they're like, okay, you do this all the time. I don't care. But if you wait for the right moment, then they kind of hit someone like, oh, you're... So, and I remember directing this camp. We had some issues with this one camper. I won't name him, but and he was having a difficult week, and he had a difficult week the last year he was there. And he had basically, pranks are a thing, and I can't stand that it's a thing. We're talking about that at camp. Camp is not about pranks. No one should be coming to camp and go, I can't wait to prank somebody. Like, we're trying to really, so I can't wait because I'm directed to, I'm telling Sergio, like, we're having a zero tolerance of this crap this year. But anyways, they went into this other cabin and they wrecked it. And then the other cabin was older than them and they were angry. They said, Curtis, they said, if we get our hands on him. And I'm like, oh no. And then I'm trying to keep it hush. I'm like, guys, because the other guy's like, well, we don't know who did it. What did I'm like, and the one guy's like, yeah, Curtis, it was me. And I'm like, okay, don't tell anybody. Okay, I will deal with, like, we'll talk with them, we'll talk with you guys. But if they know you did it, we're gonna have big problems. I don't want that. Well, it didn't take long. It was all through the camp and everyone knew who did it. I was like, oh no. So they're at the nurse cabin, they're talking about this. And I go to the one kid, he's in his cabin. I said, buddy, listen to me. I said, I need you to do me one favor, okay? I need you to stay in your cabin, okay? If you need to go to the bathroom, that's okay. Let your leaders know. As the leaders, make sure you're watching, making sure, because I'm like, these guys want to hurt you, buddy. I said, and we're doing our best to protect you. I don't want them to hurt you. So I need you to just stay put. Pretty obvious thing to do. Now, I'm pretty sure most of you have kids, have grandkids, deal with kids. You probably all know that kids don't like to listen to anything you tell them, even when it's simple. So, not even 10 minutes later, I'm over at the cabin, a different cabin, talking with the other kid involved with him, like, hey, that wasn't good. And he gets up and I'm like, where are you going, buddy? He's like, well, I'm gonna go talk to that kid. I'm like, well, no, he's at the cabin. Like, don't worry about him. I'm like, if you want, you can go see him. He's like, no, he's over there. I'm like, what do you mean he's over there? And he's like a couple feet away from me, drinking water at the cooler. And I'm like, we'll call him Billy. It's not his name. I'm like, Billy, come here, please. He walks down the, and I was in front of him, like, Billy, what are you doing? Oh, I'm just getting some water. Why? Well, I was thirsty. I was like, Billy, I told you to stay at your cabin. And now, not even 10 minutes later, you're here? I think, Billy, I am not happy. I said, they want to hurt you. I'm trying to help you, and you're not listening. I said, and now I'm really upset because now you're disrespecting me. I asked you to do a thing, and you couldn't do it, and now you're over here not even 10 minutes, and I'm heated now. I'm going. And he's actually focused in because this is getting to him. He's looking at me. He's like, hey, and I'm going. And now I'm an emotional guy, and I hate conflict. Absolutely hate it. Which is why I sometimes don't like being a deacon. I don't like conflicts. So I'm going, and I'm just going. And in my moment, the real me comes out, and now I've got tears coming down my eyes. I'm like, listen to me, Billy. I said, I like you a lot, buddy. I really do. I said, and I'm gonna be honest with you. There's a lot of people that want me to send you home, and I won't do it. I said, it doesn't matter what you do. You could do the worst thing, and if I have a saying in it, you're not going home. Because I want you to be here. I don't want to, so I'm like, do not. I'm like, and then I looked at him, and I'm in tears, and I'm like, I'm sorry for yelling at you. But right now, I need you to go back to your cabin and stay there, please. And he just, okay. No, the truth is, these are my favorite kids. I actually love these kids the most. They're my favorite kids because life isn't easy usually for these kids. And I love that Camp Oneida takes in people like this. It's not just a typical, like, all Christian kids, kumbaya. We throw in kids from every life, and some don't even know Jesus. And it's cool to see how these kids come to this camp and they find Jesus. And I'm going to stop for a second before I keep going, because thank you for having your hand up this whole time, buddy. What do you want to say?
When did you start working at Camp Oneida?
That's a really good question. I think I've been volunteering there, I think about 10 years. That's what I've been saying to people.
I used to go there around 2016, 2017.
Yeah. I heard that. I didn't know, but I heard that afterwards. I don't know if you ever passed with. But back then though,
I think I did hear about that one incident you were talking
yeah, maybe. Maybe you were. I mean, I won't lie to you, the one that year I also, that when they were doing the pranking, I sat in my car in the grass and I waited in my car and I parked it like not where you're supposed to park it, like on the grass in front of their cabins. And all the girls come out of the cabin like, I'm in my car. Lights come on, like, ah! They all run back. I'm like, get in your car. So I might have driven around a couple times and maybe they're like, he's gonna hit us. I'm like, don't tell your parents that, guys. I wasn't that crazy, but anyway, camp's been real special to me with that. And I think it's great to see what's happening at camp. And I've grown a lot from leading there. When I first started doing Bible studies, I would just be there. Like, it's got to be funny. It's got to be this. I'm going to give candy. It's going to be great. Now I'm like, no, we can reach these kids. They're ready to listen, especially if you put in the work, I think, and if you actually care about who they are as individuals with their faults and their things that aren't great about them, you just accept them. I've always told kids, like, sometimes they don't want to hear it. And I'm like, buddy, that was me. I couldn't tell you one Bible study that I ever went to at Camp Oneida, what it was about. So I don't expect you, like, I'm not gonna be mad at you if you don't hear everything I have to say. But every once in a while I'll tell them, like, I need you to have your things out and listening because I want you to just hear this one important thing and then whatever. You try to be a little lenient is what I try to do. But a really cool story I do want to share with you about camp, and I think this will be my last kind of thing. It was really inspiring. And it's when I really noticed what God was doing. That's the thing. It's not what I'm doing. It's not what anybody else. It's what God is doing at the camp. He calls in the people to work. And I think it's really important that we take in that. And there was a camper there who I've gotten to know over the years. And this young man, I didn't think he was a problem. He was the cool guy, the funny guy. Everyone liked him. He was cool. And what was really cool was to see him go from this, I'm just coming to camp to have fun, to do sports. And then all of a sudden, he's like, I want to be a part of the leadership team. I want to start directing camps. But what was really cool is where his faith has grown. Because he met a girl at camp who happened to be a pastor's daughter. And now he's going to church all the time. And I remember last year I saw him and he was worshiping God. Eyes closed, worshiping God. And I went, wow. And I talked to him after. I said, buddy, I said, I'm so proud of you. I said, witnessing you with God like that was beautiful. And he said, Curtis, he said two things. He said, one, I saw you doing it. I saw you doing it, and I wanted that. And I couldn't do it. And one Sunday while I was at church, I did it. And he's like, and I felt it. I felt God. I said, oh, baby, you felt that. Isn't it wonderful when you feel the presence of God and it just changes your whole life, right? We know that. But for this young man to get that moment, and I realized how simple it is for camp to succeed properly in bringing people to Christ. I think we try so hard to be, like, I'm like that. I've always been one, like, try to be cool and fun. That would get them. As somebody told me recently, well, now you're in your 30s church, you're no longer hip. I'm like, thanks. I know that. Got a little bit more, can't do the athletic stuff anymore. But they, they don't need all that flashy stuff. If you're doing the right thing and you're a good and I believe that if you're someone that cares enough about them, and then they see how you act when you're in the presence of the Lord, it's contagious. Like, I never thought it was like that until that happened. It was a blessing for him, and thank God, because it was a blessing for me. Because then I went, I now have to be better, because I saw what that did, and I wasn't even trying. I just love to worship God. But then I realized the impact that had on one camper at least. I said, and I realized that Bible study, all these things have to be done properly because these kids' lives matter. They matter to God. And when we have them in a place where they feel safe, we have to make sure that they know God in that, and that they see that God is in their lives and that they're changed for the good. The last two things I want to note, kind of more scripture stuff about this, is that what I've learned recently is that we're called to be disciples, right? To disciple young people, bring them to God as well. And I would think about the story of when the disciples are on the boat and Jesus is walking on the water, and they're scared. Who is that? Is that a ghost? They're scared. Jesus, well, it is I. Don't be so scared. It's Jesus. It's okay. How many people get off the boat? One says, I'm willing to try this. And we all know, though, he takes that step. And then the waves come, and the waves are scary. Doubt comes in. My question is always, where are we as Christians, as disciples? Are we sitting on the boat going, I'm not even going to get off this boat? What God wants me to do right now, I'm not even going to attempt it. Or are we the one that's going to say, you know what? I'm scared, but I'm going to try it. I have enough faith to try this. And then hopefully we can get to the step where we're better than even that. Where we have to say, you know what? When the storms come, because we all know it happens in our lives, it happens throughout the Bible and in our lives. As soon as we say, okay, God, I'm here for you, something happens to say, good luck. It's going to get scary now. And do you have it in you to say, I'm going to keep walking to Jesus and walk into what he's got planned for me and trust in that alone? That has to be worth it. We know what he did for us. He gave his life for us. He's worth all of us to give everything we have to him. The second thing I want to say, I learned this in my Bible study, was really, they asked a question, I said, what does it mean to yield to Jesus? I thought, well, it's like yielding like in traffic. I said, we come to a point, we see Jesus driving along in his nice car. We have two options. Well, I could go first because he's not here yet. Or I can let Jesus go first and get behind him. And I really think the cool thing about that is, I think a lot of us sometimes think, oh, we're with Jesus. We're in the car with him, like, yeah, I'm in the car with you. I'll pick the music, you just keep driving, right? We're not. We're not supposed to be in the car with him because we're not Jesus. We're in the car behind him. Why? Because we are followers of Christ. We follow him, and he directs us. He will show you the path. And the great thing about driving and how it works into this is that you still have the option to go, I'm done following. That is the freedom of choice that we get. We can say, you know what, Jesus, you're going too slow, and go around him. We all know people that go around people, right? They're going too slow because it's not in our time. Or we get to an intersection, and he goes, okay, guys, we're going right. Follow me. And we go, yeah, but there's mountains and valleys, and it's dark and it's scary. And this leads to the highway that goes right around all that. Can I just do that? And you have those options. And I think it's really important that we choose, because what are we? We're followers of Christ. Our job is to follow him where he leads us and keep going. And I think I've learned that for camp, that in order for camp to be successful, the leadership has to be doing that. We have to be discipling, leading these people, leading these young people, showing them this is the way. We know what we get at the end. They don't fully know that yet. And I think it's worth every bit of us, a bit of our energy. I always tell people, I know that some people are like, I can't do camp, I got so much going. I'm like, Jesus gave his life. You can't give a week? You can save a life. If the right person's there, you can save a life. And it's something that I want to start. I haven't pushed for it yet, but it's something I'm going to start pushing that we're doing this right. I'm also in charge of the leadership training program at the camp now. I really want to make sure that we're building up good leaders as well, because this is important for these kids, that they find God at camp, they hold on to that, and that their lives are changed properly. I don't want to keep rambling, so that's what I do, and I don't know how to end things, so I'm going to end things like that. Cliffhanger, maybe? No, I'm just kidding. But thank you so much for having me and for laughing with me. And if you have questions or anything like that, go ahead and you can ask. If I don't know if we have time. There you go. Another one. Go ahead, buddy.
When I was at Camp Oneida, I heard that the one week your name, Curtis, was the director, but I'm not sure if it was you or someone else.
It's possible. I don't know, buddy. Was it? How long ago was it?
Probably around 2017.
I don't know if I was I wasn't directing then. Yeah. Might have heard my name, though. Some people knew who I was, so it's possible. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's I always say it's interesting how life works, and it's just really cool that things just intertwine, and camp's been a wonderful thing for me, and I know this church has always been a big supporter of camp, and I think I really appreciate that. I know last year at the NHA meeting, I really appreciated hearing Olive say good things about like how it is important that we care about our camp as an association, and I really appreciate that. So yeah, thank you guys.
We're going to sing one more song, and then everyone is encouraged. Come to the fellowship hall, talk to Curtis, trade war stories. Maybe he can talk you into helping at camp. He's always on the lookout. It's always an opportunity. And that's what this song is about too. Where is our heart's cry for the people that are in our lives? Let's stand and sing. Sit, my brother, and
let me remind you that if you have some children, or if there's any children you know that would like to go to camp, please let the office know, and we'll help you make sure they get there. As Curtis said, many churches do, and we are one of them that will help you get there. Again, all have already mentioned it, but there's coffee and stuff in the back. So come join us. You can talk to Curtis more about camp, or I know Carson's here and others that have been to camp and enjoy it. Let's bow our heads in prayer. Great God in heaven, you are awesome. And Father, as you see, each and every one of us has a story, and I thank you for the story of Curtis's life and how you were there for him and his brother and for his family, oh Lord, in the good times and in the bad. And Lord, also to bring him into the camp, Lord, and be able to use him as a youth pastor, leader, Lord, whether it's at camp or whether it's in Little Bethel. Father, we thank you for that. And Lord, we pray that you would take us out into the mission field that is before us, oh Lord. We thank you for this month where we've learned the missions that are going on around the world that we support as a church, that you support, where lives are being changed. And so, Father God, bless us. Keep us safe. May your grace fall upon us, your mercy and your love. In Jesus' name, amen.